all my stuff back in the right compartment of the cabinet. For some reason, I have like 20 different sets of headphones. I probably was getting them for as gifts for a while.
I've been spending a lot of time on Google Earth, looking at all the stuff related to Hudson Bay,
Oh yeah.
all the tiny, super remote towns on the shore of the Hudson Bay. It's pretty wild. A lot of people still living quite traditionally, the old Inuit traditional way.
Really?
Yeah, just fishing on the ice and hunting seal and all that. Yeah. And there's a town called Churchill that is a bit of a bigger town. I think maybe like 600 people live there. Might be less even. They do have an airport, and it's a port given, like, it's off of Hudson Bay, so you've got the Northwest Passage there. And because it's one of the first places that thaws out, or is it that freezes? I can't remember. It attracts the polar bears. It's on a polar bear migration route, and yeah, it's one of the first places. I think it's one of the first places that freezes, so they migrate there so they can go out on the ice floes to kill themselves some seal, right? And so the people in town, it's like a like a polar bear tourism area where they can fill you up in a big truck, like an armored truck, and you can go see polar bears and stuff. And the people in town know to leave their vehicles unlocked at all times because polar bears are one of the only land predator animals who actively hunt human beings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so people know, leave your car unlocked, because if you get a polar bear emergency, you can go hide out in a car.
You can jump into anybody's car.
Yeah, you can just whatever the nearest car is, just jump in there, right?
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, so this is small town living, man.
I saw this footage of, probably YouTube, I don't know, but of someone who was working in some kind of, it was like a miniature bulldozer or something up in, somewhere where polar bears were, but lucky for him, the thing was enclosed. Like, it had windshield so he could see out.
Yeah.
But some polar bear came up on him and tried to, if the guy hadn't had an enclosed cab, probably would have got him.
Yeah.
That thing wanted him, but it didn't understand the glass. Hey, I can see him. How come I can't get to him?
Yeah. Well, they've been migrating for so long. They're like super hungry. You can tell. Like, I've watched documentaries. They have footage. They're super gaunt.
Really?
Yeah.
The ones in the Hudson Bay area?
Yeah, because they haven't been eating much all through the thaw season, right? They might find a carcass here and there, but there's just some really cool places to visit. There's a place called Aurora Domes, and it's like a hotel, like a sort of, and if you can rent it, but you can pop your head up in a dome, like a plexiglass dome, and watch the northern lights. Like, so you're not freezing your ass off in minus 40 degrees, right? Oh, okay. Do you want to pop out and pop back in? Yeah. So check it out, guys. Churchill, Manitoba. It's polar bear tourism. It's a very small town, and on the Hudson Bay. It's a very cool place. Just go on Google Earth and check all there's forts that are old forts that are like you can visit, and it's self-guided, like they're maintained. There's no like people like actively, welcoming you there, but there is a campsite, which is of course behind a tall fence, so it provides moderate protection against the polar bears should they make their way there. It's an old Hudson Bay fur trading post, and they got a very large building there. The original building, I think it's called, what is the name? Hang on. York Factory.
Check.
Yeah, you got it. I was just telling the folks about York Factory, which is also on the Hudson Bay. It is an old trading post for the Hudson Bay Company. Of course, it's not in operation, but they kept the building as like a heritage building there, and it's just like a piece of flat like land that's like landscaped, and you got some people who are maintaining it throughout the warmer season, and one building in the middle of nowhere. There's a couple other like facilities for people who like live there for the season.
Yeah.
And it's only accessible by boat from Churchill that I was telling you about. And they preserved the trading post for educational purposes. And there's a campground, but everything is self-serve. It's like a federally funded or something, so there's no cost other than getting there. And you can camp, and you camp behind like a big huge fence to protect yourself from wildlife. And you can go check out it's kind of become like a museum of the Hudson Bay Fur Trading Company. It's pretty cool. I'd love to be able to go there someday.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
You go to Google Earth and you find York Factory, and you zoom out and you zoom out and you zoom out and you zoom out. So there's nothing around. Like it's like right, nothing but ocean and forest, and that's it.
Probably a lot of places like that in Canada, I would imagine.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, Google Earth, when I first discovered it, it was fascinating and cool, but it was also terrifying.
Yeah. That everything's mapped out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what you think you're doing in the privacy of your backyard is not private at all.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Tower of Babel, because there's only one guy I trust with knowing every hair on my head.
Right. Yeah. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you a question. Make sure, yeah. About this Strauss-Howe thing.
Okay.
Because, I pick up a little bit on things here and there. And so what's the turning thing? So I get the generations. So
Okay.
The thing with Strauss-Howe theory, generational theory, for me, the way that I think is, it's interesting, but to me it feels like it's missing something. Like it's missing. Like what's the magic of it? Like okay, so something like astrology is interesting, but because it's poetically, it's your life written in the stars, right? So I don't follow it, of course.
Me neither. Yeah.
But the idea that I'm trying to figure out what are the mythopoetics of Strauss-Howe.
Well, okay, so the generations. I'm sorry. Did you have more to say?
Well, I'm trying to understand what the turnings are.
Yeah.
That sounds like maybe a grand narrative of life or something.
Okay, so there's a few different things that generational theory delves into, and one is people, and that's the generations themselves, and the other is the historical cycle, which they call the saeculum. And so, each saeculum has 4 turnings, and I like to think of it as historical seasons. So just like we have 4 seasons every calendar year, there are 4 turnings every saeculum, and they always occur in the same pattern. And there's a number you'll keep running into in generational theory is 20. So 20 is, the approximate length of a phase of life for a human being. Excuse me. And 20 is the approximate span of a generation. And 20 is also the approximate span of a turning. So yeah. So for instance, if you, and by the way, when you learn it and you look at it and you know it pretty well, it becomes predictive. So just like, neither you nor me can tell you like what the exact temperature and humidity and wind speed and precipitation is going to be on, October 23rd, 2027, or December 20 whatever. We can predict with some confidence that the weather's going to be cooling down. If it's October 23rd, the leaves are going to be falling off the trees, or maybe already off. Animals are going to be going into hibernation. The flowers have wilted. The grasses turn yellow and stop growing. So we can make general predictions. We can't tell you specifically, like the humidity or temperature, any of that stuff I named. But because of that, we can like for instance, I don't want to go off on my own tangent. So knowing that, what's your follow-up question?
Okay, so I'm reading on Seculum, like that term. The background of the term is that originally it meant the time from the moment that something happened, like the founding of a city, until the point in time that all people who had lived at the first moment had died. At that point, a new Seculum would start. According to legend, the gods had allotted a certain number of secula to every people or civilization.
Interesting. Yeah, I knew it was a Roman term, but Strauss and Howe use it because history doesn't mesh perfectly with our idea of centuries of dividing history up into centuries. So Seculum is approximately the length of a long human life, anywhere from 80 to 100 years. Usually.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's funny because it says at the time of the reign of Emperor Augustus, the Romans decided that a Seculum was 110 years.
Okay. Yeah. So very close there, but yeah, it's Yeah, historical cycle, to put it in layman's terms. So you
Okay.
have the first, second, third, and fourth turning. The first turning is a high, which correlates to the spring. So the historical weather is getting more pleasant. You know, soldiers come home from war. People start building new families. There's an economic recovery. Usually, just like in the spring, you know, the weather gets more favorable. The grass and the trees start to grow again. Animals come out of hibernation, and the second turning is the awakening. It's also called the awakening, and that correlates to the summer. The third turning is the unraveling, which correlates to the fall, and then you got the crisis or fourth turning, which we're in right now in America, which of course equates to the winter, a season of death, when the weather gets too cold for comfort, and you know the trees are bare, the animals who hibernate are gone. You need to pool resources, and well, at least you know, in older times you had to plan out your actions and your storing food and all the stuff. You had to plan that out in order to survive the winter. You had to work together with other people usually to do that, and you see the same kind of thing happening in the fourth turning.
Like, what's the basis? Like, what's the foundation? What is the ground on which this theory sits? Is it just observing, or like, is it like?
Well, Strauss and Howe started. They didn't know anything about this when they started, but they started researching American history, and I mean diving deep. So these guys are literal historians, and I mean they dove a lot deeper than the people who write history books, and they started noticing these patterns between the generations. Like every 4 generations, you had very similar behaviors and very similar common experience with the generation that had been in that phase of life one seculum ago, or 4 turnings ago, 4 generations ago, and it was such a distinct pattern that they separated them into the 4 archetypes, which I've talked about before. So their foundation, and by the way, I can't remember if I mentioned it before, but it is based on American history. So I'm sure, I would bet money that every civilization has its own patterns, its own archetypes, its own turnings and stuff. But theirs specifically is built on American history. So even though I try once in a while, I experiment to see if it fits, I try to apply it to like the biblical generations and, maybe sometimes English or Canadian or Australian. It's really it's based on American history. So we're the only ones that it fits perfectly, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So it's basically the ground on which this theory sits is these 2 men's study of history.
Yeah. And observation by looking at, what do you call them? What is that called? Direct sources?
Yeah.
I forget, but accounts of people who lived at the time.
Right.
And they started noticing stuff like, for instance, the people who they later classified as a nomad archetype tend to be extremely individualistic, cynical, risk takers, whereas they noticed the people that they classified as the hero archetype, they were more collegial in nature, they were team players, good followers, community was very important to them, that kind of stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I do. My intuition is that this seems like an American specific thing.
Oh, did it? Yeah, you're right. You were right.
Yeah, that was my intuition, because I kept trying to find. So, as you know, I've been following the Jonathan Pajot with the symbolic world stuff, and that is more. It's a little more broad, I guess, or maybe a more universal.
More universal, yeah.
Yeah. And he has a course on his website that I've been looking at. The Symbolic World Masterclass. It's not that expensive, so I think I'm going to do that because it's like in order for you to elucidate the Strauss-Howe theory, you use narrative. The narrative of the seasons turning. And ultimately, it seems like the best way to make sense of the world is through narrative.
I think it hits the most people can understand it when you put it that way.
Yeah. And so that's what a pattern is. It's a story. And and I thought if I take his masterclass in narrative, well, I think that would help my writing. So
could be. I did watch the one video you recommended.
Oh, about the what comes after the novel thing?
Yeah, it was interesting because they talked about these previous literary works before the novel, I guess, became a thing, and I always kind of considered them novels, so I was not, obviously I haven't studied it to the degree either of those people did. Jonathan Pajot or the guy who was interviewing him.
Yeah, and I thought the guy he was interviewing, because he's a teacher, I thought he might be able to get some particular insight that I couldn't, because this guy, the challenge of teaching is a specific kind of challenge.
Yeah, and boy, did that guy bite off a lot to chew. But yeah, just well, he's trying to teach. Like, for instance, he thinks he can take high school kids. Maybe he has a really advanced class of really, wicked smart kids or something. But he wants to take teenagers of today and teach them like Dante, get them to read Dante, and some of the other ones he mentioned. And boy, that just sounds like, I mean, how do you tackle a job like that and not wind up, jumping off a tall building or something?
Dante's not an easy read.
No, and oh shoot, who's the? I can't remember any of these authors' names now. My memory's really bad. But yeah, it's with honestly high school graduates today, you'd be severely challenged trying to get them to read Dick and Jane, much less Shakespeare. Was that a cultural reference you didn't get?
No, I get that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just dated myself.
Yeah, well, no, I don't know that I've read it because I came up French, so we didn't have those.
Yeah.
But I came up on the Fountain Fables. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
I have not.
Fountain is the guy's name, de La Fontaine. It was a French, and it's kind of like I guess maybe the equivalent would be the Grimm's fairy tales.
Oh, okay.
But like the French version, and they're written as poetry, but then for the kids they were interpreted as stories. So there's stories of like but there's one is the donkey and the little dog.
Okay.
And the way it goes is that this nobleman has a dog, and he showers affections upon this dog. And the donkey gets jealous and envious, and is like, all this dog's got to do is be cute, put his paw on the man's shoulder, and he gets all this affection.
Uh-huh.
It's like, well, if it's that easy, I'm going to try it. So the donkey approaches, put it,
Don't try this at home, fellow donkeys.
And the story goes, he starts to ask for affection, but it just comes across as donkey braying or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And so the man says, "Oh, so you want affection, eh?" So he calls forth a servant for his stick.
Oh boy.
And so the donkey, shies away. And there's kind of like there's levels to the morals of the story.
Yeah.
But it's kind of, you can't just do what other people do and get what they get.
You made me sad now.
Well, it's not how it works. You get what you get. Right?
Yeah.
So the dog's not a donkey and a donkey's not a dog. They're different things.
Yeah. Yeah, I could use that. That's very applicable as an analogy to several things, actually.
Yeah. So, but that's the kind of stories we read as little kids in school.
Okay. Well, that's why you're so smart, I guess.
That's why I know my place in society.
Oh. I guess it works that way too, then.
I don't know. They were just amusing stories. There was one about a fox and a heron, and I can't remember. It was a similar thing. The fox couldn't get a thing that was in a vase, but the heron could.
Oh yeah, I've encountered that one somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was stuff like that.
Maybe it was a Grimm's fairy tale. Maybe that's where I read it. Don't remember.
Yeah, I remember it as Aesop's Fable.
Aesop's Fables. Okay.
Yeah, I guess that's not one of the French ones. So Aesop's Fable would be the equivalent to Fountain Fables.
Okay. Huh. And are those like universally Canadian, or is it specific to the Acadian background?
No, it's older than that. It's from France.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me just look at the year. I want to feel it's. I feel it's like the maybe 17th century. Yeah, 1668.
Okay.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
For the Acadians, they would have picked that up.
And probably the stories have been handed down for centuries before that, and it was just they were compiled in the 17th century.
There are specific Acadian legends. You know how you got what's that guy with the big axe and the big ox?
Paul Bunyan?
Paul Bunyan. There's those types, but specifically for Acadians. The one we had was Little John. And he was just a young boy who was a very hard worker who could cut trees faster than the grown-ups. And he would do big feats of strength and trickery and that sort of thing.
I see. I could tell you something about Paul Bunyan that would probably just increase whatever prejudice you have against Americans to begin with.
I don't know a lot. I just know the image of Paul Bunyan is all.
Okay. You haven't heard any of his stories or anything?
I don't know. Maybe I'm sure I have. I must have.
Oh.
Well, what about him?
Well, I grew up and heard some of his stories. I can't remember if a teacher or somebody read some to me, and you just assume they're like other fables, right? They've been around for 1,000 years or something, and they've evolved over time, and it started out with some started out as some folk tale passed down through the centuries by oral storytellers, but that's not how it came to be at all. He was actually the what would you call him? The mascot. He was the symbol of a lumber company back around the turn of the century. Yeah, and they deliberately created these stories about him as part of their advertising campaign. And so, but kids loved it, so it's become, I can't even remember the name of the company, and that's the way it is. But he outlived the fame of the company that he was the what do they call those when in advertising? They're not mascots. What are they?
Yeah, that's what it is.
They are mascots. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The peanuts, like the guy with the monocle and the
that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a mascot.
Yeah, but however, John Henry, he was a local folktale, like from around the time of the Civil War, a legend about a railroader. It's probably based on a real guy, but it got exaggerated over time, and it was passed down through songs. So I guess you could compare it to the Iliad or something. But it was passed down through songs originally, and then later on, people got hold of it and made. I think I first encountered him in a children's book or something.
Yeah, we there was some Paul Bunyan stuff in Canada. He was a Canadian thing as well.
Okay.
Anywho, I'm gonna quickly use the washroom, and then we'll get this thing started.
All right, I'm gonna be back in a minute myself. Is my volume okay?
This one, when we start, just maybe throw to me when you're ready. I want to give a thank you to the paid subscribers.
Okay. Well, you can, however you want to do it. You can
Go ahead.
You can lead us off if you want.
No, it's no, I'm enjoying myself. Don't ruin it for me.
Okay. Hey, is my volume okay?
Yeah.
All right. And am I able to change it so I can see what my own camera is producing? Is there
You should be able to
button for
your
that?
thing. Down below, I see layouts.
Layout.
It doesn't say layouts. There's just a bunch of icons. Side by side screen, split screen. I don't know if you see that.
I don't see those. I see mark, clip, mic, camera, speaker, react, raise, share. I'm going to try share.
Can you pin if you're in the center of your view, like the camera? You can pin?
Well, I can. Yeah, there's an icon there, but it's actually it would pin your symbol there.
Try pinning it and unpinning it.
Oh, all right. Let me try this one. All right, that's better.
You got it?
Yeah, that worked. I'm smart. How's the book centered? Is it about right where it should be once I open the page?
Yeah, a little bit to the right.
Say when.
More.
All right.
More. Stop.
Is that good?
Yes.
Okay. All right, you ready?